We distinguish between stable and dynamic demand patterns. A stable demand pattern does not change over time. This is here shown on this graphic on the left side. On the left side of the graphic, there's a stable demand pattern. This demand pattern does not change over time. For example, if we are looking at household cleaning supplies, the demand is quite stable and it does not really change over time. On the other hand, no, what does it mean? The pattern does not change over time. It can go up and go down, but the pattern, the shape of the demand curve does not really change over time. And on the other hand, we have a dynamic demand patterns where the pattern can change over time. Then it's less smooth, it's more uneven, sudden changes can happen. This is shown on the right side of this picture. We have much more changes. It's not as regular as the pattern on the left side. And of course, it is much more easier to forecast stable demand patterns. And if you try to apply forecasting methods to some data, a good way to start is to try to identify if the demand is stable or if it's dynamic. As a side remark, for this graphic that is shown, you also see the dashed line. The dashed line is the average demand over the time period that is shown. And you see the average demand is constant. So if we fill in the precise data for this demand pattern that is first stable and then changes over time, you get to this constant average demand. And what does it tell you? What does this tell you? If you only look at the average demand, you do not know a lot about the pattern that is creating this average demand. Though if your data is showing that the average demand is constant, the demand pattern behind this average demand might be highly irregular. So don't make the mistake to only look at the average demands, which we often do to simplify things. So it's good to always draw the exact demand pattern and have a more in-depth investigation on what's going on. We distinguish between dependent demand and independent demand. First, the independent demand. The independent demand is a demand for a product or one of our services, and this demand is not related to the demand of any other product or service that we offer. It is really independent. Though if we sell more from item A, this does not have an impact on the sales numbers of item B. There's no competition between the items, or they do not support each other. The activities of the firm are really independent. So if we do a marketing plan and plan some marketing events, then these events for the two products do not impact each other. There's no interdependence. We can plan it independently. But we also have dependent demand, and demand that is dependent on another product or service that we sell. In that case, we need to take this into account for our planning. So for example, if we sell more phones, then we typically also can sell more services related to this phone. For example, selling like phone cases or insurance for phones, or more phones are sent in for maintenance and repair. Though in that case we have a dependent demand, and if we forecast the demand for the main product, then we automatically or we indirectly also forecast the demand for the dependent items. and that can simplify our task significantly, because we need to identify the independent demand, and we only need to focus on creating our forecasts for items whose demand is independent.